Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Monday. I'm Ardis Kadiu, CEO and founder of Element451. And with me today, as always, is Erin Newton, our head of marketing. Hello, Erin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Ardis?
Doing great. I'm really refreshed this week. Had a family vacation last week. Just got to spend some time with the kids at the beach, and it was, of course, you can never be fully disconnected, but it was really, really great. Everybody needs that.
Nice. I heard you also celebrated your birthday. So
I did, yeah, 1 year older. So
that's good. Yeah, and wiser. And
I don't know how that works. Maybe
yeah, we'll go with it.
we'll go with
Yeah.
it. 1 year older and wiser.
Yeah.
So today, Erin will introduce the topic a little bit, and we're going to continue our trend, or we're going to continue our process from what we stopped last week around landing pages and kind of the efficiency and simplicity of the tools, and kind of how you're using those tools to kind of amplify your efforts in smaller teams. So Erin will introduce that topic a little bit more, and then we'll dive into it and show you how we're doing some of these things in Element, and kind of how those teams can benefit from this new way of managing your content and your flows as well. Erin?
Yes, thanks, Ardis. So small teams. I know myself, I worked at a university and it was very small. It was, we were back then called the web team, but we did it all. We were marketing, admissions support. We were creative, we were developing, we were handling logistics. And this is the case for probably the majority of schools out there. They're doing a lot with very little in some cases, and that those resources are getting tighter and tighter. So technology is amazing and there's so much you can do with it. But you kind of have to get a feel for how do I actually implement this? How do I do this in my day to day? And so that's what we wanted to bring you quickly, because small teams don't have a lot of time. Kind of our 3 big tips for how to feel like your team of 3 is a team of 10 or maybe even 12.
Even 12.
Maybe even 12. So the first tip we had on there, in our little advertisement, was to text your email campaigns. And we don't mean to actually text an entire email, but what we mean is in Element, I'll go ahead and share my screen now to show you a pretty cool feature that we have here. Is that coming through all right, Ardis?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's an email for a senior search campaign that I was working on. And so in Element, this is our email marketing portion of the platform. And if you go in and you edit, or if you would have gone in and just created from scratch, you'll see you have this area here for channels. So I've worked on my email. It's all built out. And then I can simultaneously set up an SMS, a text of this. And like I said, you want this obviously to be the shortest version of what the key messages are that you're trying to get across in this message. And then you just set that all up and it goes out at the same time. Yeah.
Erin, I just want to ask our wonderful producer, Travis, if you can put us at the bottom so we can see most of the screen. I think that would be wonderful. Perfect. Or eliminate us altogether as we're talking.
Yeah, we'll just vanish.
Much better.
Are we all set? Yep. All right. So you just go in and sorry.
Go ahead.
Just configure your text message. So you pick your phone number, and Element, we have short codes, and those get through more easily. And we have some other kind of nifty features with our text messaging. We verify numbers and a lot of things to kind of just, all those little things really add up. And I know myself, when I'm trying to get a task completed and somehow you started out like, okay, I'm just going to make this quick email or send this text, and then there's so many points in a lot of systems where something can go a little bit wrong. You don't really know what they're asking for. And then it's a half hour later, and something that you thought was going to take 10 minutes, you're now sunk a half hour that you really don't have time to waste. So that's something that we thought about all along the way when we built Element, because we've worked in schools. We know how the pressure of having many things on your plate. So here you would just put in your text message, depending on your setup. If you have a writer who is writing your emails, you would just ask, hey, can you do a text to go along with this email, and then plop it in. And then you can add attachments, you can do images, make it an MMS, and that's it. And then you would just go ahead and send it out. So Ardis, you're the architect of a lot of these features.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Multi-channel communications are one of those things that we all need to embrace. And essentially, we want to. We talked about a couple of sessions or a couple of episodes on how we need to do the right message at the right time at the right audience. But there's also this idea of the right channel as well, because the right time, that person can be on multiple channels. As we all know, SMS. I would say, I think there's some statistics that 98% of that SMS or MMS messaging gets read right away within the first few seconds of receiving it. And then even further, we are moving and transitioning to a SMS world where a lot of those interactions are a lot more quick, and they're a lot more active. So students are more active and more able to respond. So if you are having a topic, you want to have your long form email, but you also want to have that really quick SMS. So essentially, you want to basically send the same topic in multiple channels, so it reaches that student wherever they are at the right time that they need to do that as well. So one of the things that also needs to happen, and we're kind of expanding that as well, is we're adding more channels, like for example your website, so you can have the same message in there as well, and kind of your chat icebreakers or your pop-ups and messages. So we'll have the same interface in here, but it will be available in there as well. So think about that as we move, as you move more of your messages to multi-channel, rather than thinking about it, hey, I need to send a text, I need to send an email. No. Think about the topic and think about the message that you want to get across, and then change that message for the specific channel. This will allow you to work a lot smarter and get to those students a lot faster, and amplify your work and your outreach, rather than having multiple campaigns going on for different channels. Think about the channels as just a delivery mechanism, and then think about the content as the one thing that you need to do. So one message, one piece of content.
Right. And I think I can say for myself, I was a little hesitant to embrace this multi-channel kind of same topic. But if you think about, how you interact with brands, you might get one message about, say, for example, you forgot something in your shopping cart, and you get an email, and then maybe you're too busy to look at it. Then you see it on your phone, and then it's that multiple touch points. They might be about the same subject, and it's really important because people are just wildly busy, and maybe they just prefer text, and that's fine. They might have the email too, and they will just, the ideal is that they would get in touch with you whichever channel is best. And then you can kind of, with individual personalization of channels, you can see, okay, this person prefers texting, and maybe you start campaigns just in that medium for them. So
this specific topic is all about simplicity, though. So let's we'll Element can help you do a lot of those things in terms of bubbling up things like what's the preferred channel and the preferred time of day. So you can dive deeper into that portion of it as well. But sending out a text message, it's super easy. One other thing to think about, Erin, is as we look at this, sometimes we want to personalize that and personalization becomes really, really easy as well. So around tokens and how we are able to add those in there. So first name, last name, and there's a whole bunch of them in there. So it looks really easy you can see that in the top areas as well. So if we go a little bit further up, one of the other things that Element makes it really easy is if you scroll down to those CC and BCC fields. We've added them directly in here, but what's unique about the CC and BCC fields is that now you can communicate to not only to that student or that message, but you can communicate and you can send that same message now to multiple email addresses of that student or the guardian email or any other relationship that person has. So you want to send it to their counselor, you want to send it to family. You can add all of those components in there and it will go out to everybody. So when we start thinking about family campaigns versus a student campaign, it becomes really easy to essentially, add in. If you can add that relationship really quickly, Erin, we can see how that's done. So in Element, we have, for example, a student or somebody can have a relationship to another person in Element. And you can have a relationship to multiple people, to hundreds of people. But if we add that CC field in there, it will go in at the time that it's sending that, and it will say, okay, give me those other people now, and I'm going to add them all to that CC field. So all you have to do is add more relationships to the person rather than thinking about, oh, I need to keep up my family list updated or my parent list or my counselor list. So let the system handle the relationships. You set up the configuration in here and then let that go. So rather than just sending one message, we let Element is sending the messages to everybody who is added to those different, as part of those different relationships. Very, very powerful, especially now that we know that students are very unlikely to open these emails or to engage with them. We want to send them to those influencers, which in this case is counselor or even family members as well, parents and guardians.
Great. And I think going back to the simplicity, another thing we wanted to touch on is the banish code. You can see everything that we've been doing in here. There's no code necessary. We've selected those groups that we want to send the message to. We've done the tokens. It just says it's very easy. You read here, instead of you see some kind of merge tag or actual code, you just see first name. So you instantly know, you feel confident that you're putting in the right thing, which is huge. And you're not having to ask IT or developer or anybody, how do I get this out the door? Because again, especially with texting, it's immediate. You need to be getting things done right away. So our email builder does that really well. I think, Ardis, if there's anything you want to kind of point out here.
Yeah, no, one of the things is if you can click that little preview button, going back to that simplicity and kind of getting the confidence. So if you can open the email builder one more time, Erin, and we can show, so we have the preview in here, so you can show what it looks like on mobile and what it looks like on some of the smaller devices. And if you click on that little person to the left-hand side, you can also figure out, for example, those tokens and kind of the personalizations as well. So you can pick which variation of the email. So you have the full confidence that you're getting the right message, and you can even pick a student that you want to send it to, or pick a student as an example and see exactly how that's going to look like for that student. One more thing that you can do is if you click on that little link at the top really quickly and copy that link, and if you go to a new tab and open that up, one of the things that we've done is most of the time your messages are going to need to be approved by your supervisor or approved by marketing or someone else. And this makes it really easy. Rather than sending them a message and saying, did you get it? Did you not get it? We've baked that into here. So all you have to do is send them a link, and then it's a live message. So every time that you make a change, they're seeing the most up-to-date version of it. And then they're getting exactly what what they need in here as part of that message, and you have the different conditions in there and all. So we built it in a way that it's really, really easy for you to get approvals if you need to, or really easy for you to kind of build these emails as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you never have to say, oh, that link expired. Like, how many times have we had to do that? And
yeah,
then they're all missing. It just keeps it very simple.
Yep. One of the things that we've had in the past where you build all these emails and then you can just put them into a spreadsheet and just send those links to your marketing team, and they can just review them all at once rather than bombarding their inboxes with test emails all the time.
Yep. Yeah. See, our landing page builder, we went over this a little bit last week too, and just wanted to show another area of where you just don't need code. Nothing's getting in your way. So these are, pretty sophisticated looking pages, but we have these design components where you just kind of drag and drop them and enter your text and your images. And there's a lot that you can customize as far as the background, how the images look. But, building out a pretty simple email is going to be a pretty straightforward experience when you're doing it in Element.
Yeah. Hey, Erin, one component that I'm really fond of in here is that smart teaser component. And I really like it because, as you start adding content, let's go with a 5-4 block or 5 block one. So these are all configurations of the same component, right? So we can pick a white one with 5 block or even this one. Okay. So we can, if you scroll down now, if you configure this component really easily, what we can do is you can say, okay, add another content block, right? So we can add another content block, and then it appears at the bottom. But it's like, well, wait a minute, like, how do I don't have the ability to change this. So let's add another one, and or you can make it, there you go. So you can make it light. So change the theme to light, and now boom, you have a light background. But now let's go to those columns and let's change them. So rather than 4 columns, let's make three column with ones. So there you go. So change that.
Oh wow, I've never even seen that. That's amazing.
So now you change the layout, so it becomes really, really easy. But then you can go further and say, oh, you know what, I don't want buttons in this component. So go to Elements really quick, and you can now just remove the button from there. So the efficiency and kind of the ease of making these changes requires very little effort, and we kind of build that all as part of the configuration for these. And essentially what you saw on the left hand side is that we give you hundreds of permutations of these components, but underneath there's just one component, or just simple components. But now you can configure them to your brand, to your content, to fit everything that you need. And you can see how easy it is to make it look and make it yours specifically.
Yeah. And there's everything you could ever imagine that you would need is here. And it's just a matter, you're kind of stacking these blocks, and it makes it really convenient. Video is essential now, and it's just a matter of dropping in a link to wherever your video is hosted. So super, super easy and simple. So we promised this would be a quick episode because it's small teams. You don't have a lot of time. So we want to quickly get to, we had schedule. So, and that doesn't mean by date. What we have an Element to make sure that your energies are being used to the maximum is, it's called workflows. And basically that's a way to sequence your message. You can do a campaign, you could do just about anything, but I think the most straightforward example that for somebody on a small team would be, okay, how am I going to send out this campaign? Sitting and saying, okay, I know I want this to go Tuesday and then Thursday, and having it on your calendar to manually do that is just wildly inefficient and will drive people half crazy. So with the workflow, or at least myself, I don't want to speak for others. But you can have here, for example, your admitted student email workflow. Say you have these, somebody was admitted, and you're going to have different messages that go out. So this works where somebody is admitted and they're will be entered as soon as they find out that they're admitted and the system knows they're admitted. And then that sequence of messages just goes out. And so you created that sequence one time and then that's it. So it's that work up front that saves you a lot of work day to day.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can use exactly the same sequence year over year. You don't need to change it based on year. One of the things that you can do is change the content, right? So what we saw, the emails, like you can have different versions of that. Congratulations, you've been accepted to class of X, or whatever that email is. You can change the content in there to be specific to that person, but the orchestration part can be the same and be based on when you change their status, or when you're whenever you have a specific date of your release date for your particular time based. Well, we talked about not having time based emails, but sometimes that makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. You can do, like a fall nurture campaign. You can have it set up and you want it to start on a particular date, and you do that too, whichever way works for you. And you can see, you go from one workflow to the other and you start to really get used to these simple ways of building it. And it's very straightforward. You put in the title, so you can take a glance, you can see, who's in it, and this is a test, so we don't have the full list of everybody, but you can see where people are, and it's just super easy to build. It can seem complicated, I think, in other systems.
We purposely did. We followed. So essentially, a lot of the things that we've done in Element is, we look at how in admissions and how in higher education we are following a particular process, and we have mimicked that process and kind of built it as software. So when we look at processes in workflows and email communications, a lot of the things that we do are sequences of emails, right? So what you see here is that we built it as a sequence. It's like step 1, step 2, step 3. What happens if something happens in step 1? Well, okay, you can exit or you can do something else. We're checking, and then we have delays between steps. So we built it in like essentially what you see in an Excel spreadsheet, for example, as you're managing those workflows. We built it the same way in here. So it's very easy for you to come in and say, okay, let's add another email, let's add another step here as part of that flow. You can kind of rearrange the steps. So very easily, Erin, you can kind of, with the easy click, drag and drop, you can kind of rearrange those steps. And it gives you confidence that what you have built as your process is now being followed in the software as well. So we are taking a lot of cues from your workflows and put them into Element, rather than the other way around, where we build a sophisticated, really advanced tool, and it just requires somebody with a certification in that particular tool in order for you to even operate it. We wanted everybody, if you can write things, or if you can manage Google Docs, and if you can manage Microsoft Word and all of these, like a spreadsheet, then you should be able to kind of click and drag and build content in Element as well.
Absolutely.
We did say that we're running over, so if we can put us side by side again. Excellent. So any last parting words around simplicity and time savers?
I don't know. I think I'll just save people's time and leave it at that. Let this speak for itself. And yeah, just, as you're working, just think about all those little bits of time and how they really add up, and how something like Element could just give you that time back to do things like, strategize. How should this workflow really be? What's the best sequence, rather than actually building the sequence itself?
Yeah, exactly. I think there's an easy saying in software development as well, and kind of the developer's mind, or like the engineering mind, is like, if I have to do something more than once, I'm actually going to automate it. So think about it that way. If you're doing repetitive tasks, automate them, and that's a really good way of thinking about it. We will see everyone on Wednesday during our news show. Thank you for tuning in today. We'll bring you some news on Wednesday, and then again, see you next Monday. We have some really exciting things to talk about next Monday. Some great things around video and personalized video, and how Element is leveraging that with some of our partners, and some of how those tools are actually embedded into the product itself. So stay tuned for that during our next Monday episode, and we'll come and see you during our Wednesday news episode as well. Thank you, Erin. Have a good one.
Thanks, Ardis. See ya.